For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the nation's premier auction house, specializing in sports memorabilia and trading cards. With significant experience and expertise in all major sport, non-sport, and Americana collectibles, REA has helped clients achieve record-breaking prices for their items and has done so with a reputation for integrity and transparency. By actively partnering with collectors and enthusiasts throughout the entire process, REA has created the hobby's most trusted forum for selling high-quality collectibles. Go to robertedwardauctions.com for more information on how to buy or sell in their next auction.
Hi, I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches. Hi, I'm Danny Black, and that's John Newman, and we are Card Mensches. We think this is episode 26. It might be episode 27. It might be episode 275. It all depends on how you count and which show you're on. John, good to see you. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Happy Thanksgiving day after anyway to everybody out there. Battling a little stomach bug, but listen, gotta keep going.
I don't want to spend too long and bury the lead here. Guys, today is not just the day after Thanksgiving, but since Steven has already put it up here, happy birthday, John.
Today is my birthday, 51 years old. I'm working on my birthday. Do I get like time and a half today?
You do. You get more than you usually get paid for.
All right. Twice as much, right?
Yeah, Hodges got his popcorn. We're ready. In fact, it's birthday popcorn. I got you a
There
cake.
you go.
And I got you the same thing I got you last year.
Hey, thanks, Mike C. Yeah, cheesecake. If anyone ever needs anything or wants me to do something illegal, normally I don't do illegal stuff, so just keep that in mind. But cheesecake will make me really think about crossing that line. If you ever just need a favor that's not illegal, cheesecake is an acceptable form. PayPal, Venmo, cash, check, and cheesecake. That's all acceptable forms.
What kind of cheesecake?
Payment. I like them all, but raspberry is my favorite.
Okay, good to know. I have something illegal coming up, and I just want to know.
Okay, you might. That's definitely gonna have to be raspberry.
Definitely raspberry.
I know a guy. I know a guy.
I know a guy who knows a guy who can take care of a pro. We're talking Hall of Fame candidates tonight. Is that what we decided?
Yeah, it's that time of year, right? When someone's getting in, or someone's are getting in.
Well,
the Hall
not
of Fame.
necessarily.
There's 26 people on this year's list of potentials. Obviously, some of them are honestly shouldn't be on the list. No offense to them, but they are.
Brandon Phillips is going in. I think we can end the show after that.
He had a couple years, man, like where but no, sorry, Brandon.
Oh, and so it's your birthday, but I'm going to try to give you a break with your sniffles. So I'm just going to throw out random people, and for you and for the chat room, let's talk about what we think. You and I we really have not discussed any of these players yet.
No,
so
this is all cold takes. Cold takes. We didn't share notes, so we may disagree on some of these here, maybe.
And we mean it this time. Sometimes we say that and we do cheat, but this time we really did.
No, truthfully, I've been very little social media, other than what I had to do, and so I'm going in, like you said, cold takes here.
All right, I want to start off with somebody who is in year 6 of their ballot. Last year they got 72%. I think this one is maybe one of the most likely ones to get in this year. How do you feel about Todd Helton?
Yeah, I think this is the year that Todd Helton gets in. He had 72% point two of the votes, I believe, last year. And so he's right there. I think this is the Todd Helton year when he finally gets in. Like you said, it's his 6th year on the ballot. I think he makes it. I think his numbers, uh, are good enough. Um,
He was
he's
Peyton,
got three.
he was Peyton Manning's backup quarterback at Tennessee. Doesn't that get you in automatically?
I don't think that hurts him even too. I think that helps him. Maybe Peyton made a couple phone calls for him. I think his bet, he has only, 369 home runs or 369 home runs, but he has a 316 career batting average. I think that's what gets him in. Great point by Ruben saying if Larry Walker got in, Todd Helton. Yeah, I think this is the year that Todd
Well,
Helton.
the 414 on base to me. If you're telling me a major league player can come up to bat and more than 4 out of 10 times he's going to end up on base, I always, anytime an on base is over 400, my jaw hits the floor a little bit. I think that's a nice marker. So I think he's an easy one. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I think I'd be surprised if he didn't get in. Let me say it like that.
All right, I'm going to move to somebody who might be a little bit more controversial. Um, and this is a first year player. Played 50% of his career roughly as a catcher. The other 50% were split between first base and DH. Joe Mauer.
Man, I almost think it depends on what day you ask me. Um,
How about today?
I'm gonna say no. Definitely not. He's definitely not. They're not gonna put him in on the first ballot. They're not gonna put him in on the first ballot. And I don't know if he is even besides the first ballot. Um, you know. So there's Hodges correcting you there. He's doing his
Uh,
Tony Reale.
yeah, actually, Peyton was Helton's backup until Helton got hurt with the knee injury. Peyton came in to replace Helton. Uh,
Wally
then,
Pip.
yep, I think Helton it worked
So
out for Helton.
yeah, going back to Mauer, I'm gonna say no. Um,
So does
I
Mookie.
think, and if Mauer ever gets in, it's because of he was a catcher. If you look at his numbers, if you took his name away in position and just looked at numbers, he's not a Hall of Famer, man.
You
With
know
all
who his
due,
numbers are close
I'm
to?
gonna say a lot of with all due respects today, huh?
His numbers are very close to John Olerud, actually.
I like
Uh,
John Oler, but
I
also
like
not a
John
Hall of
Olerud
Famer.
too, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
No, he's not. He's not a Hall of Great guy. If there was a
Yeah,
Hall of Great guy, he's a first ballot Hall of Great guy, but he's not a Hall of Famer. The way Joe Mauer kind of started off, he was kind of on that track, and then some injuries, the numbers kind of declined. Um, he's just not a Hall of Fame. Twins fans will probably argue to death about that, but uh, I'm going to say no.
Mike says Olerud was a first baseman. He was. They 3 Gold Gloves. I think same thing. Mauer won as a catcher, 3 Gold Gloves. And it's a good point. John Olerud, Hall of Mensches. I don't know John Olerud personally.
We should
But
start a Hall of Menches.
you know what? I don't know if you can be a mensch and be qualified to pick other Mensches. I think
That's not very Menchy.
I don't think that's Menchie. And if Menchie was not a verb before, it should be now.
Why? Joan Rivers would make fun of people's clothing.
Yeah, did anybody ever call her a mensch?
It depends at different times.
Well, my favorite banner.
Yeah. Well, she could be that at times.
She could be if she liked the outfit.
Yeah.
All right. So Joe Mauer, we're both a no.
Nope. Sorry,
All right.
Joe.
Andrew Jones. I saw him play when I worked for the Braves. So I'm going to tell you, I'm coming to this with firsthand watching him play a ton of games in person and following his career pretty tightly. But I'm not going to tell you what I think yet. What do you think?
He was very good. If this was the Hall of Very Good, Andrew Jones is getting in. But he's not. He doesn't get my vote for Hall of Fame.
How much do you put defense into the equation in general?
I like gold. I mean, I look at Gold Gloves. I mean, how many Gold Gloves does he own?
Ruben says Joan Rivers was more plastic than Tupperware. Mike says we're small hall guys. I've been
Listen, I don't talk about that on my size of my hall on shows.
it's not the size of
Very
the hall,
personal.
it's the quality of
I
the bat.
talked to a therapist about my small hall, and I'm dealing with it.
Well, be careful which therapist you pick these days. You never know. Mookie says, as a Mets fan, I was way more worried about Chipper for Call and even Klesko before Andrew Jones. I okay, so Andrew Jones to me defensively is on the short list of greatest center fielders of all time. I put a lot of weight into that. I know advanced defensive metrics are not reliable. To me, he's real borderline, and I think he ends up being a veterans committee one day.
I think that's the only way he gets in, and even then, I don't see it. Danny, I think Mookie, with Mookie's comment as a Mets fan, he mentioned, three other guys that he was more fearful. As a fellow Mets fan, I was more worried about the Wilpons than anything else. But he's definitely not getting in any kind of Hall of Fame that I'm aware of, unless it's the I got taken by the Bernie Madoff Hall of Fame. It'll be a first ballot
Yeah.
in that. Shrinkage. It's telling you it's shrinkage.
It must be cold up. In case you're hearing this on the podcast, it must be cold up in Syracuse for John to have a small hall.
It is cold. I'm not gonna lie. It is cold today. Um, I've jumped in my hot tub a couple times today, just to feel a little bit better, and because it's cold out. So
Mookie, I think
yeah,
Mookie's responding to you here, talking about the
yeah.
Wilpon. The bad men can't hurt us anymore, John.
I know. I came out from under my bed when I heard the news. Like they're
I
gone.
gotta
They're
tell you,
really gone.
this is the most animated I've seen you all day. Is talking about the Wilpons.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I could be not feeling great, and I'll get happy that they're not the owners of the Mets anymore. So
All right, well,
I
that
love
that
that line from Mookie the
it's hysterical.
Badman.
So let's do a layup here, or I think it's a layup. Adrian Beltre,
Yeah, first ballot.
first ballot to me.
First ballot. I said this a couple years ago. I did one of my early episodes, Danny. So it was about 4 years ago. Was talking about when Adrian Beltre retired, and that about grabbing some cards because he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I think he gets in. Um, just even with the defense as well, playing third base, the hot corner, almost 500 home runs. Didn't get there quite.
Well,
477, 286 batting average. Not that you get in. We talked about being a nice guy, but a very well liked teammate and player, and with the numbers, I think he gets in. I think he's one of the guys that is a shoe in this year. I'd I'd be I'd be very surprised if he didn't get in. Let me put it that way.
Um, I agree with you, and I guess my only question is, um, his s- totals are high, but his ratios are a little bit lower. OPS plus, so I think he's a first ballot, no question. But it leads to that question: if he's in with that, then is somebody else in with that? So is it the 3,000 hits that puts him over? I mean, he played 21 years.
Well, I didn't realize he played that long. Yeah, that doesn't change it for me as crazy as that. The 3,000 hits is a big number, right? And then you add almost 500 home runs, triple digits in steals, and you know, great defensively, and just a great type of teammate and kind of catalyst kind of guy. So I think he gets in. I'm not arguing that he's the greatest third baseman ever because he's not, but
Nope,
I
that's
think he
Brooks
gets in.
Robinson,
Yeah, I think he gets in.
right? Um, I think we need to discuss this one, John. Is
Yeah,
David
hit
Wright
me.
is David Wright a Hall of Famer?
Nope. Listen, I'm a Mets
Oh,
guy,
that was
right?
good.
If
That
I
was
was,
good.
but he's not. He's not a Hall of Famer, man. 242 homer. He doesn't even have 1,000 ribbies. 970, 242 homer. I know he was injured. He did hit almost 300. You know what used to kill me with David Wright
Sorry, Ruben.
is, yeah, um, it seemed like he got all his big home runs when the Mets were down like 9-3. He hit a 2-run home run. I
Well, let me
always
ask you a
have this
question.
conversation.
As a Mets fan, how much did his back curtail his career? Would he have been a Hall of Famer? Was he on that track?
He had spinal stenosis, man. I mean, just say spinal stenosis. You don't even have to know what it is. You just know it's not bad when you say those two words,
Yeah,
right? So no, he's not. He's not even. I'm going to say this. He's not even close, man.
I
If the
completely agree.
Mets, if the I don't, I don't know if he is already. But if the Mets, he'll probably be in the Mets Hall of Fame because he was a great Met, a great teammate. Again, the teammate, team
Captain America.
player. Yeah, but he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it's too bad because he had the talent. He just the injury, the spinal stenosis, sidetracked him. I hope we see him in baseball again as a coach. I know it's been talked about him, getting back with the Mets in some kind of capacity on the field. I'd like to see it. Again, he wasn't my favorite Met. But that has nothing to do with anything I've said. But you know, played his whole career there. I'd like to see him back in baseball with the Mets as a coach.
Couple comments to catch up on. First of all, Warren, hello. Good to see you as always. I agree with you. David Wright is not a Hall of Famer for me either. Yeah, he unfortunately was diagnosed with a debilitating disease, like John talked about. But
And that's
I
not his fault. That's not his fault. It's not,
absolutely
it's just unfortunate.
I wanted to mention him because I felt the beginning of his career and the comment here from Mookie, they'll retire his number, Mensch Hall of Fame, maybe. Yeah, I thought it was worth, we
Yeah,
talk
I
about these
agree with that.
guys and the guys that aren't first ballot Hall of Famers, we talk about them, it almost sounds degrading and we don't mean it that way. They're the top 1/10 of 1% of baseball players. We're just splitting
No, and
hairs between
if
three.
someone gets injured, that's not their fault. No one wants to get injured. I think
Yeah.
most people don't want to get injured, right? So I mean, it's just unfortunate. But I mean, this is not a football show. I can make an argument that Terrell Davis shouldn't be in the NFL Hall of Fame. I thought he missed too much time, but
You're going to
we'll
take us
bring
off
it
the
back
rails
here
with
to.
that.
Yeah, we'll get back to baseball. I like David Wright, but I don't even think he gets that many votes.
Chase Utley.
Someone might be mad at me on this one that I know that loves Chase. He's got 4-figure ribbies, 259 home runs.
I mean, he played on a winning team as a key player with 358 on base, 465 slugging, 823 at second base.
Yeah, 56 WAR. Man, he's one of those borderline guys. It's not. I don't think it happens this year. He's definitely not a first ballot, this is his first year. So I'm gonna say no with a hold on a future entrance. So he may get in. And
if you're building a team, Jeff Kent or Chase Utley. To me, it's Chase
I didn't
Utley.
like Kent personally, so that's a tough question for me. Kent was a heck of a ball player, obviously, but not a really great dude. So I liked Utley the dude, but I think Kent was a better
Really?
player.
Really? See,
I don't know, man. I'd have to really think of that's the answer without getting a lot of time to think about it.
I respect what you're saying. I mean, listen, Kent might be one of the best.
That's one where I have to
second
get
ever.
almost the back of a baseball card when their last card and look at their seasons and then answer it again.
Well, I just think it's an interesting one because I think that Chase Utley is a lot closer to the Hall of Fame than I think a lot of other people do. Now, whether or not he makes it, I don't,
Definitely, I'm gonna say
probably not the first couple of years, but
I'm gonna say almost no across the board, and definitely not this year.
Mookie says Utley was the guy in the Phillies lineup that scared me the most, but not a Hall of Famer. Warren,
he might be a Veterans Committee guy someday. It might come down to that for Utley.
Warren killing me today. Sorry, Warren. I'm going Kent all day. Utley was a really good player, but I think sell me on Utley, Danny. He's a Hall of Famer. Look at the second baseman in the Hall of Fame. Compare the numbers. Utley to me.
We can make an argument that some
defense.
of those that are in probably shouldn't have been in there, and that's low. That's what happens when you lower the bar.
Well, I know we had some people in here earlier talking about big hall versus small hall. Utley to me is right on the borderline. So he's
he's a borderline Hall of Famer.
Sell you on him, Warren. Warren, I'm going to sell the Veterans Committee, or he's going to end up 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th ballot type of player. But I think if you look at second base, it's pretty weak. Here we go. Hodges says Chase Utley had a career WAR of 64.5. Hard to say no to that. It's one of the numbers in the stew. And Warren, I don't know how you feel about career WAR. It's a hard number to always go by, but 64.5 is a nice Hall of Fame number. All right, John.
It is. He's right. He's right there, Danny. Like he's not terrible. It's not a quick no. Like, you know what I mean? Like some of the others we've already discussed. But I don't know. I don't know. Definitely not this year. I'll go very staunch no for at least this year.
Yeah, no, I agree for this year. All right. John, I know you wanted to make a case for James Shields. Carlos Beltran.
James, I do James Shields.
James Shields. I'm sorry, James.
If there is like a Shields Hall of Fame, like a Hall of Fame for people with the last name of Shields, James Shields is going to get my vote. He had 146 wins. I don't know any other Shields with 146 wins. There could be. I don't know about them. So, but all joking aside, that one's easy.
Warren, I think talking about Utley's career WAR, it's a good number, but the eye test to me says a lot. But that's a whole other rabbit hole. Yes, it is. And I was laughing about James Shields. To me, he passed the eye test for a couple of years in the American League East, but he's not a Hall of Famer. All right, Carlos Beltran. He's an interesting one. You got the Astro tie. You got a long career starting in Kansas City. What do you think? Not Kansas City. What do you think on Beltran?
He gets in, but it ain't going to be this year. I don't know if that's an answer, but that's my answer. So yes, but not this year.
Okay, but you think he's definitely a Hall of Famer
at some point, but not in 2023.
Well, he's the second year on the ballot and 46.5 last year.
Yeah, he's going to get more. He will get more votes, but he won't get the amount needed to get in.
Ruben says the only Hall of Famer with the last name Shields is Brooke Shields.
But she's a first ballot. She's a first ballot. James is not a first ballot Shields Hall of Famer.
Brooke Small Hall.
Yeah.
Mookie says James Shields gave up the home run to Bartolo. He's in my Hall of Fame. That I forgot about that. Hey, Bartolo's on the ballot.
Yeah, not getting in.
Okay. Carlos Beltran. 20
yes,
some
but
years.
not yet.
No, 20 some years. I'm going to make it. I think there's more of a case there than people realize. I think he's pulled down by the Astros at the end. You're talking about a guy that in the prime of his career could hit, run, play defense. And I think he's looked at as a DH late in his career with the Houston. Wow, Warren, I'm getting at least a toughie on this one.
He is. He's again right there on that line, right? When we talk about like the basketball tournament, like who gets it, he's on the bubble, right? You got to wait on Sunday, Selection Sunday, right? You see all the teams waiting, they got the cameras on them. He's the Baseball Hall of Fame equivalent of that. I don't think this is the year, though.
And I think Warren agrees with you. I think Beltran is in, but later the Houston thing affects it. Yeah. I do think he gets in. I know it might be a little old school. I think when you play 2 decades in the majors, that is at least something to add into the equation.
Yeah, but that could hurt you too, because it's the old he compiled 20 years of stats.
This is Ruben says, is Beltran better than Harold Baines? I'm going to say
I think he is.
I'm going to say yeah, I think he is too. Now that leads to your argument. Warren says his numbers are above average. Well, that leads to your argument, John. Just because Harold Baines got in, does that mean that?
There's guys in the Hall of Fame that probably shouldn't be there, and they're in. And then because they get in, we do the litmus test and the comparison, and that's where the bar gets lowered. And my argument is this: you can't take someone out of the Hall of Fame, so I'm not going to make that argument. But I think you got to forget comparing like guys to certain guys. I think you compare them to the ones that there really isn't an argument with, and then that's how you decide how they stack up.
Overall, Beltran is better than Baines by far.
He is better than Baines, man.
Yeah, I mean Baines. Okay, so for people who don't remember, Harold Baines was a number 1 overall pick, if I remember correctly. When the guy was younger, before his knees went, he was just a tremendous athlete and a great hitter his whole career. But he was limited, and he was a DH, and he was a DH that was not as good of a hitter as Edgar Martinez. And, so he had some years in the outfield, but for the most part of his career, Harold Baines was a solid hitting DH. And he played for my Orioles, and I love the guy. He's definitely in the Hall of Mensches. He's from Maryland, but to me, Harold Baines is not a Hall of Famer. So back to your litmus test comment. Do I have to put Carlos Beltran in because I disagree with Harold Baines being in? And my answer is no. I don't think I have to. Does he deserve it? I don't know. He's a close one for me. But
He's right there. I don't think it happens this year, but I think he eventually is up there giving a speech at some point.
well, I think like the steroid guys, we might have to get more removed from the Houston situation for people's perspective to change.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't, or I should say, I don't disagree with that.
All right, which leads us to a group of guys I'm going to put together here: A-Rod, Manny, and I'll put those two together.
If you looked at the A-Rod, if it wasn't for steroids, that dude is like has incredible numbers. Like he'd be,
All time.
we would, yeah. I mean, almost 700 home runs, 696 home runs. You know, 2,000 ribbies, 300 stolen bases, almost 400 OBP. Um, he's a Hall of Famer numbers wise. No one could argue. Um, but the steroid thing, he was not a likable guy. You know, yelling at someone during a pop up's not going to endear you to
He's still not a likable
people, and
guy.
he still isn't. You know, I mean, even J Lo kicked him to the curb eventually. So I'm just kidding, but
No,
um,
it's true.
yeah. Numbers wise, he's a first ballot. The problem is he juiced, and we don't even know. I think he was in that on that kind of early, so we don't know how much of that is real, Danny, and how much of that. You know, we can make a case for the Clemens and Bonds because they were Hall of Famers before they start using. We don't really know the A Rods when he used, and you know, so I don't like him, so maybe I'm the wrong, you know, I'm not fond of him, I should say. So maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask, but he only got 35.7% last year. I don't even think that number goes up much higher.
Look at Manny's
Oh
percentage from last
yeah,
year.
it's a great point. It's a great point by Ruben. If you put A Rod in, here's what happens.
Well,
I'll even go
the whole
further than
steroid
Bonds.
core.
What Ruben's exact. Then if you put A Rod in, you got
McGuire,
to put all those guys. You got to put all
right?
those guys in. Bonds, Clemens.
But Manny, I think deserves it if you're putting them in. He's what 500 some home runs. People forget how good of a career he really had because he was a goofball,
Yeah.
and maybe that's being polite. He was an airhead. Um, Warren says I'm a huge Manny guy.
Well,
They
he
all
peed
belong.
behind the left field scoreboard. I think that took him out of the running.
Warren says I'm not ashamed. They all belong. Steroids may help you hit farther, but they don't help you hit a round ball that moves with a round bat. You know. Uh,
Yeah.
I assume this. I think this is talking about A Rod. It might be talking about me. Steven says all or schmuck.
Well, or both of you.
Right, it could be or Manny. Manny might fit it too. Uh,
Yeah.
so I do think that Manny belongs in. I think there's already steroid users that are in the Hall of Fame. I think at this point it's all speculation and nobody's qualified to make those decisions. So I think you have to put them in and just vote on their numbers. It doesn't mean I like it, doesn't mean I feel good about it, but I don't think it's fair to say that the voters know enough, just like you said, John, that the voters know enough information to make a fair decision.
I think Bonds is going to be the first guy to get in from the steroid era. When that happens, then other guys may or may not get in, but he's got to be the first one to sort of cross that, you know, Moonlight Graham line and get elected in. You know, Manny's not going before Bonds. Just the same comment Ruben made, like if A-Rod gets in, Bonds has to get in. I agree. Bonds will be the first one whenever and if it happens before any of these other guys. So that's what's holding these guys back.
But
Is
I'll
it's
take a guy
actually
like.
Bonds.
Well, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say it's Bonds that's preventing these other guys from getting in because you can't put these other guys in before Bonds. It would be blasphemous. So Bonds has to get in first, and that opens the door to say, okay, let's talk about other guys from that time period that we're using.
Couple things. I think Bonds being a jerk did not help him. If Bonds had been a better guy, he might have had a different case. I don't think people talk about that enough.
I know. Listen, he's probably one of the worst dudes, like persons to play baseball, but he's arguably one of the greatest people to do it. You know, if
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's not a great person,
yep.
you know, but arguably one of the greatest players to ever lace up cleats. It's
But
unfortunate that he used, and that's why we're having this conversation.
now I'm going to take a different perspective. I think people group all the steroid users together, but I don't think they all deserve to be Hall of Famers. So let's say we put them all, that they're all eligible for the Hall of Fame and they get voted on their merits and their numbers only. I don't think Sammy Sosa is a Hall of Famer. If he
No,
never used steroids and put up the same numbers, I don't put him in the Hall of Fame. He's Roger Maris.
well, some people will argue Roger Maris should probably be in the Hall of Fame, though, Danny. So that argument, I will
do,
say this: I'd probably put Roger Maris in the Hall of Fame before a few other people that are already in there.
do you put Sosa in the Hall of Fame?
I'd
Warren
have
says,
to look
still
at
love
his.
Manny. Oh, well, I'm sorry. This is important. Still love Manny. Partied with him a few times back in the 90s. Warren, don't hold back. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look. Without looking and deep diving it, I'd say no. But again, Sosa's kind of in the guy I don't like category with A-Rod, so I'm biased in a bad way. When he went in front of Congress and forgot how to speak English, that really kind of turned me off.
Brendan Ryan says George Brett's parties are legendary. I have it on good authority. I'll tell you, so are John Riggins, by the way, if you live in the DC area. Mookie says Sammy Sosa had 600 homers. If no juicing, you wouldn't put him in, Danny. The 600 homers is the only thing on his resume that makes me.
I think if it wasn't for steroids, I think you'd have to put him in, based on the 600 home runs.
Well,
I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it,
myself.
but
I don't think he hit 600 homers without steroids, but that's not what I said. So,
yeah, if that was all clean and clear, not the clear that Barry Bonds used, by the way. That was I didn't even do that on purpose.
So if
it was all natural, if those 600 home runs were all natural, Sosa would be a Hall of Famer for sure. You can't keep someone who hit 600 home runs out of the Hall naturally.
Yeah, I mean, 600 homer, you got to put him in, but no, I don't think he was a Hall of Fame player. And actually, Ruben, I agree. If we're putting guys in and we're not worried about personalities or anything else, I put Palmeiro in before Sosa in a second.
You have to put me in before Sosa gets in.
Don't wag your finger at me, Mr. Palmeiro.
No, that was my Palmeiro.
I'm a U.S. congressman. No, I do think Palmeiro had a Hall of Fame career. I think he juiced at the end of his career, unfortunately. I think he's one of those guys that did not juice most of his career.
I agree with that. And I forgot about this. A great point by Hodges, too. Juice and cork bats. Not only did he juice himself, he juiced his bat, too.
Yep.
He was double juiced.
Mookie, we've done it. Birthday John has come alive.
Yeah, but I just wasted all my that used all my energy up right there.
It's like Frankencard or whatever the hobby version is. The 98 season was special to me, regardless of what eventually happened. No doubt about it. I think that's fair. Ruben trying to get us advertisers. He suggests that Depends advertises on Sports Card Nation. So
Yeah,
uh,
I did a little bit too, Ruben. So I got to be careful getting that excited.
um, here we go. Palmero without the juice equals Mark Grace, not in the Hall of Fame. Mookie, I was thinking that it I compared the numbers. It's actually farther apart than you would realize. Palmero's numbers are much better than Grace's. If you assume that the power is legit, how many years that was affected, I don't know, but there was a difference. And Mark Grace was another guy who I thought was going to get to 3,000 hits.
He started out great.
Yeah. Warren says, I revered Palmero, but the blatant lie to Congress soured me. I was crushed. Yeah, I think that unfortunately hurt him more than it.
Yeah, it bothered me too, Warren. I mean, at that point, you could just take the fifth. You didn't have to go through all the semantics and, you know, do that. He could have just said, or he could have just, the way he got animated and then caught basically lying in a sense. It just, I agree with Warren. I don't hate Rafael Palmeiro, but definitely didn't help his cause with me.
I think in general, when people double down on a mistake, people take it much worse.
Yeah, people are forgiving, but
Yeah.
when you do things like that, that's where people are less forgiving.
Yep. Hodgson says these juicers could have been juicing before day one in the majors. Some of them did. It depends how old they were and when they came out. It's a matter of what was available. Part of it is, and if you want to watch something interesting, the documentary on Balco and kind of how they evolved. Now I know they're not the only lab, and what do I know? I have no idea where to buy steroids, people. But Balco is not the only people in the world to ever make steroids. What's going on?
I just full disclosure. I've been on steroids, but they were prescribed by a doctor.
Yeah, unfortunately, the doctor was from Balco, John, and that's what you're not telling everybody. We've heard about your softball game.
Andy, I had enough out of you tonight.
What was your softball line this year?
No, this year's not. This year was actually pretty good average wise, but I only hit one home run. But I
Well,
batted like 700.
if it goes up next year, you know what everybody's going to think.
Yeah,
You're the Brady.
especially
You're
at
the
my
Brady Anderson.
especially at my age, there definitely will be suspicions around.
Do they hit home runs? Do they hit home runs in the senior leagues?
They do.
They do.
Not as many, but they happen.
Mookie wants to know if you were juicing when you pitched to Veritek, and if not, you
I
probably
don't.
should have been. Is my comment.
I don't think it would. I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think it would have mattered. But
And Doctor Stevens says he's John's supplier.
I might have been if I juiced that morning. Was orange juice.
Yeah, what's up, Orlando?
40K.
This is a great comment. Ruben says, "Look at the list of players that played for the Rangers that have been on the juice list." Well, wasn't Canseco on the Rangers for a little while?
Yeah, that's pretty much from what I read. I mean, he was the guy that
it was like a food truck, wasn't it? Isn't that how it worked? He set up a food truck and you just got in line. And,
yeah, here's your pasta and shoot yourself in the butt with this afterwards.
Little cream, little clear. Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence. He has been open about the fact that he was pro steroids to a lot of players. So he's talked about that. And he's interesting if you've ever read his book. It's turned out that most of what he said has been proven true, which is interesting in hindsight.
Yeah, but he gets a lot less Christmas card. He gets a lot less Christmas cards nowadays.
Yeah. Maybe I'll send him a Hanukkah card. Sosa, Canseco, Palmero, A-Rod. Oh my. Yes, all Texas connections.
And others. and other lesser name players, I'm sure, did it
Well, that's
as
the other
well.
thing is there were lesser named players. Okay, well, let me throw another one out at you. Andy Pettit.
As a Hall of Famer,
Yep,
no. Hall of Very Good.
Hall of Very Good. Beltray and Pudge, hard to know who parts off. Well, a
Pettit
whole team.
gets a lot more credit because of the World Series titles the Yankees won. And I'm not saying he's not a part of that or a factor of that, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Now, Juan Gonzalez, I'm sure Mookie says, hey, I was at the home run derby with Gonzalez and Ken Griffey Jr. And yeah, that was an unbelievable showing. Just to clarify, guys, I'm throwing some names out there. I do not believe that Andy Pettit is a Hall of Famer at all. Not in any way, shape, or form.
This is not your high school. This is not your high school Hall of Fame. You know, in high school, they like whole teams get in. Like
Right.
the whole night the 1985 state football championship team. Well, they don't do that in baseball. So the fact that Andy Rip Pettit has a bunch of rings, Andy Pettit, the player, is not a Hall of Famer. He was a very good pitcher for an extended period of time. That contributed to that Yankees run, but he's not a Hall of Fame player.
Well, to me, it's similar to Bernie Williams. Um, nice career for a long time, a lot of rings. He can even play guitar, which is a bonus. Um, Warren, 256 wins. I'm I'm going to stay off the wins soapbox, but you know, Mookie, Andy Pettit says he accidentally sat on a needle. By the way, that's funny. I have three. I have three kids, and I told my in-laws that I slipped and fell, and
I will say this though, with Andy Pettit in the steroids, I think he did it for the shortest amount of time. Yes, this is my Onondaga Community College shirt. I'm going to be taking some courses there here in January, so I'm rocking the shirt. So I don't think Andy Pettit actually did steroids for very long, especially in comparison
you have no
to
idea.
others. I don't know for sure. Obviously, you're
Yeah,
right. I don't. But that even being said, even if you took the steroids away, I don't think he's in the hall.
no, not even close. Um, at all. In fact, I tend to be a small hall guy. Um, but there is one guy, and I'll ask you this question: how much do you count defense in general? Like, could a guy
Like
be the
percent,
best, like Ozzie Smith? Would you take the best defensive player of a generation and say that skill is worthy enough on its own to be in the Hall of Fame?
at a position player, yeah, like an infielder, an outfielder.
So Omar Vizquel, does he deserve any love?
Oh, man, I knew you're gonna hit me with this one. He's gonna get a lot of votes. I don't think he gets in. My gut says no. But he's actually this is his seventh year. He had 19.5 last year. Um, he's not getting in, but I think he gets more than the 19.5 this year.
Yeah. So I actually don't think he should be a Hall of Famer, but I think there's a point to be made, and I think there's a point to be made about Ozzie Smith, and I'm going to say that.
Yeah, well, as he's in the hall, TJ's online makes a point. Pee Wee Reese was
Yep,
probably a better defensive player than a hitter. I think most
without a
people would
doubt. Yep.
agree with that. So defense is a factor. It has to be.
Right there, you got to put Ray Ordonez in. Um, yeah, I mean, and this is interesting. Omar off the field dropped his voter turnout. Oh, we talked about that before. How much does off the field matter with the writers, and I think it does. TJ says Ozzie Smith made the Hall of Fame because he did the best the best backflips on turf. It's because he's in the This Week in Baseball opening. I'm convinced. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Ruben says Mazeroski's in his first day. So I'm going to ask the chat room: does anybody think Omar Vizquel deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? I mean, if these guys have set the bar, because I thought it was I would get killed for even bringing his name up, and I have him in the Hall of Hall of Great or Hall of Really Good, whatever you want to call it. But I think he deserves a lot more respect and talk than he gets. I don't, he. How many years did he play? Everybody's a no for Omar. Yeah. Omar
Sorry,
played,
Omar.
24 seasons, a career WAR of 45. But yeah, I think I'm probably in now. All right. Here, I would put Ozzie Guillen in for what he did for the White Sox overall versus Vizquel. I think Guillen had a little shorter career. As long as you're considered an institution, you get a pass on career merits and Hall of Fame worthiness is granted, like Bob Uecker. Well, there is something to be said about that. Hodges, 11 gold gloves or career WAR 45.6. He is a tough one. And Stuke's card says 29 plus defensive WAR for Vizquel. Everybody's a no, but the numbers are interesting. Do you think Ozzie Smith was that much better of a defender?
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes it's timing, man. Don't you agree? Sometimes it's just, it was during the years he played, and you mentioned this week in baseball became sort of a fan favorite. I mean, there were Ozzie Smith fans who weren't Cardinal fans.
Yeah, that's fair.
You
Vizquel
know,
played for a lot of teams and didn't have the World Series. Ozzie Smith had his World Series moment.
I've talked to people who say like, "Hey, the Brewers were my favorite team, but I loved Ozzie," or whatever. They had a different favorite team than the team Ozzie played for, but Ozzie was their favorite player. He was just a well-liked dude.
It's exactly yeah. Ozzie Smith is super likable. Even before Vizquel's issues, people never seem to like him. So is likability that big of a deal for the Hall of Fame? It's just more than I expected, I guess, coming into this conversation. Mookie says actually Vizquel was just shy of 3,000 hits. I'll admit that after 24 seasons, that might be a little bit of a compiler. Ozzie's defensive WAR was 44 too. It's a little bit more than 29. Yeah. Ozzie doesn't make, Omar doesn't make it for me.
He might be one of the guys that gets in Veterans Committee years from now.
A lot of the defensive guys do.
That's how he gets in, if he gets in. I'm not even predicting that. I'm just saying that's his entryway. That's his pathway in.
Gary Templeton. Great name. All right. We are on the home stretch here. Do you have anybody else who you have as a definite in that I've missed?
Yeah, you missed the guy, I think, in my mind. Let's see what the chat room says. Says ninth year on the ballot, got 68% last year. I think this is the year
Oh,
he
I'm
gets
sorry.
in.
I didn't miss him.
Yeah, Billy
Go ahead.
Wagner's getting in. Billy Wagner's getting in the hall this year. I think Wagner and Helton are the guys. Wagner, Helton, and Beltray, that might be the only three for all we know. But I think Wagner over 400 saves. Just an incredible, started as a starter. Um, didn't have enough different pitches to make it
Yeah.
work there. And was converted to a reliever and thrived. And he was good for a long time. It wasn't like he just flashed for 5 years. Um,
No, no.
you
I
know,
mean, but how many closers do you think should be in the hall? I mean, is he the next one? Is it like punters, or is it legit position?
I don't think there's a number. I think you just either you're
He did.
worthy
He
of
did. I'm
getting
sorry.
in or you're not. I think he's 231 career ERA, 422 saves, dominant closer of his time. One of them. I think he gets in. And
Orlando
this is
says
what's
right.
fun about yeah,
Go
this
ahead.
is what's fun about these shows. Orlando's saying no. I'm saying yes. Now listen, he's getting in. If he gets in this year, it's in his ninth attempt. So he's not a first ballot, but I think he's got enough numbers as a closer to get in there.
Wagner was great, but not elite like Mariano Rivera. TJ says.
Well, Mariano's in almost in the class, probably is in the class by himself, and so to compare him to Mariano, I don't think if you compare anyone to Mariano, you can make a case that they shouldn't be in. But I think he gets in this year. I'd be surprised. Well, I'm not super surprised, but I'm figuring that he's going to make it in.
So here's the question I always ask: what has changed in the last 9 years in his career?
I know that argument. Nothing. There's been no extra. No one's hit another home run. There's been no another win or save. It's again, it's that timing. It's who you're up against. Who's the first ballots, right? A lot of it's who's the first ballots. Let's look at the first ballots. I'm going to just rattle these off, Danny, in no
Well,
particular order.
well, I
Beltray,
think.
Mauer, Utley,
Yep.
Wright, Cologne, Holiday, Adrian Gonzalez, Jose Bautista, Jose Reyes, Victor Martinez, James Shields, and Brandon Phillips. Out of all those first ballot guys, Beltray to me is the only to me sure shot. So
Yep.
that opens the door. Now, if there were four first ballot Hall of Famers, a lot of these guys that we put in would be no's. I think, in my opinion.
See, I think Beltray and Helton are the only ones that get in.
I'm going
Or in
Beltray,
fact,
Helton, and
Orlando
Wagner.
says Beltray's the only sure in out of the first one. Yeah.
I think it's Beltray, Helton, and Wagner. That's my prediction. Again, predictions sure to go wrong, right? That's our thing. But
Absolutely.
um, I think I'm that's my three. Maybe Wagner doesn't. Maybe Orlando knows. You know what I mean? It could just be Beltray and Helton, or it could be Beltray, Helton, and someone not Wagner. Could be someone I said no to, but someone else said yes enough to, right? I don't have a vote, so this is all for semantics and fun.
This is, Mookie makes a good comment here. Baseball players are like presidencies. Sometimes you need the passage of time to truly assess what they did. Um, sometimes, that's why I was saying Billy Wagner 50-50. But we've had 9 years to look at Billy Wagner. So getting to the comment that we need a little time, I just think the voters at this point have had plenty of chances to vote for him. Now, to your point, um, only voting in two guys, maybe enough ballots get to that third one. You know, just by pure lack of other people to vote for.
Yeah, on a good first ballot year, you're not going to get a lot of those guys that've been on the ballot for other numerous years to get in because there's less votes to go around. It's like a pie. The votes are a pie. If all the first ballot guys are eaten, there's less pie for those non-first ballots.
I like pie.
I like cheesecake. I think we've established that.
Do you get cheesecake for Thanksgiving?
It was for my birthday / Thanksgiving, but we had pecan pie, which I don't like, believe it or not. Apple pie, apple pie, pecan pie, and cheesecake. I skipped the pecan pie.
Real quick, would you have the best player on your team for any amount of years to get into the Hall? For any amount of years.
I don't think that's a prerequisite. I don't think it hurts you by any stretch of the imagination. but I don't think there's guys in the hall that have worn 5 or 6 different caps or even more in some cases. So, you know,
All
um,
right.
I'm gonna say it helps your case. Thank you, Orlando, for the happy birthday. I think it helps your case, but I don't think it's a prerequisite.
Brendan Ryan says, "Do you think the coffee at those meetings sways the votes?" LOL. Yes, I think good coffee and it makes everybody happy, but they actually MLB they vote independently. The NFL they still get into a room together. Um, Gaylord Perry. Thank you, Ruben. Okay.
he get if there's a hall of names, he gets in just on that alone.
Well, let me tell you something. Gaylord Perry. Ruben, I'd love a little bit more context on that. And I
You
just want
don't
to.
need any.
All right, as we bring it home here, because we're at the hour mark, and John told me not to go to an hour tonight. We got the comment from
I
Orlando.
said they don't have to, but we'll see where it goes.
Stunning reviews, 5 stars. Got to admit, I've had worse Friday nights. That's what we're
I'm
going
telling
for.
that's gonna be like on the movie poster, right?
Yeah,
I've seen worse things.
right. Ruben said, John was talking about players that played with many teams. Gaylord Perry, yes. We could do the
Yeah,
Immaculate
that
Grid, Hall of Fame.
yeah, and even like when he played at the Hall of Fame games here at Cooperstown. I say here at Cooperstown, like
Right.
I'm near Cooperstown, but at Cooperstown, he wear a jersey where like all the teams. Right, it was funny as heck. He'd
Yeah.
wear that with that jersey.
Well, officially, in case anybody wasn't sure, happy birthday, Mr. Newman. I consider you a hobby friend and a personal friend. And truly happy that I've now celebrated, I think, 3 birthdays or 4 birthdays with you. So, you just keep getting older. Luckily, I stay young.
Yeah, that's how it always goes with me. Um, yeah, thank you, Dan. That's Dan Ryan. He's from Syracuse as well, so I see him here at the shows and stores and whatnot. Yeah, I wish I felt better on my birthday, isn't that But thank you, TJ. But listen, I made it. I wasn't sure I was going to make it today, but I got through it. Little lower tone, but I got amped up at different moments and whatnot. Thank you, Brendan, Ruben. Thank you. 60 for Ruben added 10 years.
Well, he was
That's
just going by how you looked.
I probably do today. I'm not. I feel it. So, but yeah, I appreciate it, man. And we talk about. I'll kind of close with on this. We talk about Thanksgiving and we share what we're thankful for. We're gonna do something like that tomorrow on Hobby Hotline. Shameless plug there, but even for this show, right? Getting to do this with you, very cool. The chat room is tremendous. These guys are here almost. A lot of them are here almost every Friday. Make me laugh. Some of the comments are better than what we're saying on the air, and that very thankful for that and the fact that people take time out of their Friday night and spend it with us. For those that are listening to this after the fact on podcast form as well, we appreciate you and are thankful for you as well. Thank you, Hodges, for the happy birthday. So yeah, I didn't take roids for a long time, but yeah, there's probably some side effects to that.
Well, I think once again, I'm going to stand by the fact that you batted 700 in softball this year, and
Yeah, man, at 51, so
you played at 50, easy there, easy there. You played at 50. Let's not.
no, I know, but like things start to slow down and reflexes, and that's what happens. And I still hit at a pretty good clip. So
Just one
yeah,
homer. So remember, guys, if John hits more than one homer next year, we know why.
don't bet on it. Don't bet on it. I'll just say that.
TJ, we need to get you both to the Philly show one of these weekends. I have been many times. We do need to get John down. It's a fantastic show. Yep, absolutely. Have a nice weekend. I'll second that sentiment. John, I do want to make sure that we give a chance to talk about what a lot of people are doing right now. They're getting cards, and they're going to need to get them graded. So before we say goodbye,
experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry, we are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
I'm here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, it's the new Gen X. I don't know. I don't trust that stuff. The new Gen. Like I see the commercials and the thought enters my mind. I'm not gonna lie. Like, is it, Frank Thomas is swearing by it, but
well, I just want to know who thought that Frank Thomas and Doug Flutie would be in the same product commercial.
Eugenics.
Right. They're built, couldn't be built more different. All right. I think I'm ready to get out of here. How about you, Newman?
And again, I want to thank everybody again, whether it's Thanksgiving or just a regular Friday night. You guys make this a lot more fun. Me and Danny have fun on our own accord, but you guys make it all the more better. So we appreciate you.
I'll second that, and just as a quick thank you, since I don't get a lot of opportunities to get on screen with friends and say thank you, I just wanted to thank everybody in the hobby. That this really, life happens and life happens away from the show, and this is really a reprieve for me and John, I know, as well. So on that note, say goodnight, John.
Good night, John.